You are Locked On Eagles, your daily Philadelphia Eagles podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's going on, Eagles fans? Welcome into the post-game show. This is Locked On Eagles. Louis DiBiase, Gino Camilleri, recapping the Eagles' loss to the Kansas City Chiefs at Lincoln Financial Field, 42-30. The Eagles drop to 1-3 on the season, guys. We thank you for making Locked On Eagles your first listen every day. You can find us 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, on any podcast platform, wherever you get your shows, on YouTube as well, and on Twitter at Locked On Birds, at GC24_football, and DiBiase LOE. Like I said, the Eagles fall 42-30 against Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, and the Kansas City Chiefs. Gino, a lot to unpack in this game. A lot of pros, a lot of cons. I think it's certainly a bounce-back game compared to where they were just 6 days ago in that blowout loss to the Dallas Cowboys on Monday Night Football at Jerry World. It has me with a lot of mixed emotions. I think there's a lot of good to take away from this performance on the offensive side of the football. I think there's a lot of things on offense I still have issues with. And then on defense, just I think a complete mess. So I think it was encouraging, though, an encouraging step from where you were on Monday. And it's kind of like the San Francisco game. You kept pace with a superior team, and you kind of just shot yourself in the foot. So if you can eventually find a way to fix these problems that are ailing yourself because of you, then this team might be on the right track. But they got to get this right. And I think the biggest thing was penalties again today, 9 of them, and 3 of them cost you touchdowns. I mean, in a close game like this, that's always going to cost you.
Yeah, especially when you're going against Kansas City. I think that was kind of what we would expect, that right when they started off with that field goal on that missed touchdown to Zach Ertz in the back of the end zone, which Jalen Hurts probably should have completed. I knew that it was going to be a long day, but you tweeted out before the game that you thought this would be 3 hours that you would waste watching the game.
It was all the injuries up front, like Lane Johnson at the last second, personal reasons. He's not in. It's just Jason Kelce again. I'm like, oh man, and a desperate Chiefs team, but it wasn't that, Gino. I'm coming away a lot happier, in a much better mood than I thought I was going to be, for sure.
Yeah, let's talk quick about Jalen Hurts in these games where he's going against top opponents, Lou. I mean, in his 8 starts now, the times that he does play good teams outside of that befuddlement in Dallas last week, a good showing against the Niners this year. I put out a poll on Locked On Birds. Is this his best game in the NFL?
I think so.
I think you can make a high debate for it, because I would put this as his first actual 300-yard passing game. You know, like, he actually went out there and got those 300 yards. He finished with 387, but he was in that game for the majority of the time. And if they just hit on a couple different things, Nick Sirianni, man, I'm impressed with what I saw today. Like, you went toe-to-toe for a while with Kansas City, a team that I thought was a potential blowout candidate, but you were in this game right until the middle of the fourth quarter. And just if I tweeted out the Malibu's Most Wanted gif of I just shot my foot, like, here we are again, Lou. It seems like every time they're in contention to have these good plays and like execute a great drive, penalties come back to bite them. And this is a huge improvement over Dallas. You competed in a game against an ex-coach who has had it out now 3-0 against you with one of the most high-profile offenses in the league. They've done a good job, Lou. George Kittle, Travis Kelce, both held under 100 yards in those games that they've played them. So I know the defense looked rough, but there are some good things to take away from this game. I'm not downtrodden right now, Lou. Like, Carolina just got blasted by Dallas. I think you're in contention to be in a good game next week. I think you have all the positives in the world coming on that offense. Special teams and defense, we could say some other things, but offensively wise, I think it was pitch and catch, easy, get him in a rhythm early. And when you see Jalen Hurts in a rhythm, it really is something to behold. Like, he is a good rhythm passer. Like, when they can get it, when he gets into off the rip, he's a pretty good rhythm passer to watch. I enjoy it.
Yeah, I did think, like, the Arizona game last year really impressed me with how he brought them back in that football game. I thought in the areas that you need to be crucially efficient, it's that's essential to becoming a QB1. I think today there were those areas. I'm like, okay, he actually took a step. Like last week, I'm like, where is the development in these areas that he's still weak in? It's the same thing every game. He looks like the same player as last year. Today,
and I think we can look back
really
on that
like
and yes, agreed. Sorry to interrupt you, but I think we can look back on last week and say that that was just a befuddlement of errors. I know I've used that word twice now in this broadcast, but all around, if you look at today, play calling, execution, even though they had the penalties, Lou, things were going well for them. Like they were doing what they do well on offense, which we saw in week 1. And now it translated over to a team in Kansas City who was susceptible to giving up points, which you took advantage of. They could have put up 40 plus if they really hit home on a couple of those plays that they should have. And
well, that's the problem.
Yeah, I mean, and that's what it comes down to.
Yeah, the 3 penalties cost you touchdowns. Jalen Hurts, for all the good things that we're going to get into, did miss 2 wide open touchdowns to Zach Ertz early in the game. He's got to hit that throw. He's got to make it easier on Greg Ward, who's a smaller receiver. I mean, it hit Ward in the hands, but Ward has to do a full extension and pretty much dive out for that touchdown. So, yeah, just a lot left on the field again today. The execution was there until the really crucial areas of the game came to be. And then this team just kind of folded on both sides of the football. And that's a continuous theme so far throughout 2021. And that's the disappointing part because, I agree. I thought we'll get into Hurts again in a second because I do want to talk about the areas I was really impressed by Jalen. But like Nick Sirianni, I thought the play calling today was great. I thought you saw a lot more pre-snap motion than last week. I thought he did a better job of maximizing his players' strengths, right? He got everybody involved in the open field, his rack kings, right? Devontae Smith was incredible today. Kenny Gainwell was good. Quez Watkins was open in space and making plays happen. Jalen Reagor had a couple nice plays. Both tight ends were involved. Sirianni did a way better job this week of getting everybody involved in areas that they do their best work. And that was an encouraging sign for sure because everybody was involved. And especially Devontae Smith and Kenny Gainwell. It was awesome to see the rookies step up today. And Devontae Smith over 100 yards receiving today. That's the first time an Eagles rookie receiver has done that since Jordan Matthews in 2014.
Yeah, that's crazy to think how long ago that was, right? I was watching Vanderbilt yesterday. I'm like, how did they ever have anybody as good as Jordan Matthews on that team? And it just goes to show that Devontae Smith, like, say what you will about him. I know that route, he stepped out of bounds there late in the end, which should have been a touchdown. But he is answering a lot of those questions. Like, can he play in the middle of the field? Dude, he's had some receptions over the middle of the field.
He's your most reliable target over the middle, over both tight ends.
Yes, absolutely. And you talk about the middle of the field being a weakness for Jalen. I thought he improved today on that. But go to Devontae Smith and some of those catches he had on the sideline, Lou. Talk about body control, football intelligence, the ability to just keep your foot in bounds when you're going away towards the sideline and all your momentum is pushing you out of bounds. That kept many of those Eagles drives alive. And I
sideline grabs at the end of the half were and it was back-to-back plays, incredible, especially the second one, full extension, finds a way to get the toe down. He is the Slim Reaper for a reason, but he may be skinny, but like his wingspan is incredibly impressive.
Absolutely, Lou. Like when we look at the wide receiver position, we talk about these guys that, like a Stephon Diggs, let's say, guy who's not the biggest guy in the league, isn't the fastest player in the league. I think he's right on par with what Devontae Smith could be. He could be a top 5 guy.
I've seen that comp before too. It makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Because of his route running, his ability to get open, his ability to recognize zone, when to sit. I think he did a good job today. Outside of the miscue on the one where it should have been a go route, but he stopped on that hitch route. Yeah. I thought he had good communication with Jalen Hurts. And if your idea is to build around a young quarterback and what Jalen does well, I thought the very first time Devontae got that ball and that tunnel screen, like that's how you want to work a guy like that into the game plan.
And he hasn't been getting those touches. It's been all Jalen Reagor and Quez Watkins in that area this year. And I get it. It's because those guys kind of need, especially Reagor right now, needs those manufactured touches to get the ball. And Smith really doesn't. But you want Devontae to you want him touching the ball. Like that's your best playmaker, I think, on this offense. So
I totally agree. And the idea that they spread it around, let's see, Devontae Smith, 7 receptions, Zach Ertz, 6 receptions, Kenny Gainwell, 6, Dallas Goedert, 5, Miles Sanders, 3, Quez, 3, Greg Ward, 1, Jalen Reagor, 1. Even though Jalen was quiet today, you spread the ball around elsewhere. Like Dallas Goedert is continuing to look like one of the best yards after the catch tight ends in the league.
Touchdown called away today because of a penalty. Dallas Goedert should have had another catch for a touchdown.
Absolutely. And same with Zach Ertz. I think both of those tight ends,
Right. Yeah.
we were scared about how they would use them, Lou. I think it opens up the idea and the benefit that they can play with those 12 personnel looks where they have two tight ends in, where it looked like it might be a run. They didn't run a lot today, but they supplemented it very, very well.
Well, and you
with
weren't
that
going to run the
short
ball when the
passing
play
game.
calling, when the passing was working as well as it was, Gino, like you don't always have to run the ball. You don't always have to establish the run. And I'm glad they didn't feel the pressure from everybody last week because they didn't run the ball to say this week we need to do it too much and overcompensate, right? Like, I don't know why I always pinpoint back to this game, but 2019 week 2, Jim Schwartz never blitzes. He finally blitzes, but then now he won't stop blitzing, and that's all he does. Right. I'm glad today they're like, nope, the short passing game is working. Jalen Hurts is thriving in every area of the passing game today. We're going to do what is working against this Chiefs defense that was susceptible in that area. And I'm glad they didn't kind of succumb to that pressure, because I thought the game plan today was good. And like you said, they were multiple today. Like, their receivers were involved, their running backs. It wasn't just that they were using 12 personnel, 11 personnel. Gino, there was a lot of 22 out there today. I saw a lot of Kenny G and Miles Sanders together. I'm very happy with the offense as a whole. Again, the missed throws, Jalen Hurts still had some inaccurate moments today. There was that underthrow. He got lucky. That wasn't an interception. The red zone play calling still is just all on the boundary. That's the only place they live. So there's issues for sure still. But I think right now in segment 1, as we're talking about the positives, it's pretty much all offense.
And I'm glad that we're having this discussion, right, Lou? Because last week we were concerned, are you up to par with one of these high-profile offenses in the league? Because they weren't last week, No. And then today, you look at what Kansas City did to you. I mean, Tyreek Hill is one of the best in space, of course.
He was unstoppable.
But your playmakers were doing just as well. I mean, everybody was involved, Lou. Like, say what you want about Howie Roseman, but Kenny Gainwell on top of Landon Dickerson, on top of Devontae Smith today on offense.
This class does look good early. I'll give you that for sure.
It looks very good early on. And I'm just pleased to see that Nick Sirianni was able to take the good parts away, like the motion and not putting guys in motion, and really putting that into the game plan today, but then not looking on his flaws and saying, oh, we didn't run the ball well. But there's other ways to supplement the run, and Kansas City has done that forever. Right. I mean, these top teams, if you're running these air raids, your last look is the check down. But that's how
Arizona's doing it. Yep. Buffalo's doing it. Kansas City. I agree. You don't have to. Establishing the run doesn't mean you have to run the football. Gino, I agree. No. Like, what they did today was establishing that area. Yes. That also opens up play action and that kind of stuff. It doesn't have to just be the traditional style to do it.
Yeah, and I thought early on, Lou, when they were checking it down and they were getting some screens involved, they were getting Kenny Gainwell involved. When they were picking up 8-9 yards a pop on those little runs, I'm like, this is exactly what we should have been doing the last 2 weeks. Jalen Hurts, you don't need to throw the ball down the field all of the time.
Yeah.
Even though your targets are shallow, these guys have the ability. Even your worst yards after the catch player in Zach Ertz has been good in yards after the catch this year. Dallas Goedert does well at it. Miles Sanders, Kenny Gainwell. Isn't that nice,
Gino? We've been the last 4 years. They've had nothing run after the catch wise on this offense. And this year, like the one drive in the first half, I was having so much fun with. It was a screen to Devontae Smith. Then it was a screen the other side to Quez. Then it was Rager. Then Kenny Gainwell comes in motion. He was in the slot. They give him the ball. Miles Sanders, they throw a screen to. Goddard. It was like all the different players they have on this offense now that can do that. It is such a nice change of pace because the Eagles, I mean, we grew up used to that with Deshaun Jackson, LaShawn McCoy, who was honored today at the link. And since then, though, we have not seen it at all. So that I had a lot of fun with that today.
Yeah, and I think you can get really caught up in sitting on your hands. Like if you look back the last couple of years, Lou, you had Goddard and Zach Ertz. You didn't have the firepower at wide receiver, but they were so honed into that idea. Like we have to run the offense through these guys. Sirianni has taken it and said, yeah, we have 2 top 10 tight ends right now. So let's make the best of them and see what they do well and then open it up for our wide receivers. That is, I like seeing things that we were talking about prior to the season come to fruition. Like in this game against Kansas City, when you needed to score points, which they did score 30 at the end of the game, but 23, they should have had more. They should have finished with close to 40, as we said. You were in this game because of your offense, which we thought the defense would be the strength of this team. They were dueling for a while, and It's a lot of good to build on. A lot of good to build on in a young career for Nick Sirianni, who's had it up and down in these first 4 games. Really think he got it right, Lou. Like, hats off to him. Or visors off to him because he doesn't wear hats. But shout out to you. You were channeling your inner Nick. Yeah, you're inner Western New York Italian.
Dude, that's right. That's right. Gino, I thought, and there's a lot of good things about this offense. To go to Jalen Hurts again real quick, I thought my biggest thing I liked about this game, he just seemed way more calm. He seemed way more in control. And I think, again, hats off to Nick Sirianni because I think a result of that, of Hurts being comfortable, was because I think Sirianni got him in a rhythm. And I thought the biggest things that he improved upon from last week was his vision and his decision-making in the pocket. Last week, just bailing way too early. He was not seeing the field well. He was late on all these throws, where today I thought he threw with a lot of anticipation. I thought he hung in there even when there was pressure, kept his eyes downfield, waited for guys to get open. The one play in the second half where he climbed the ladder and the pressure's around him, he steps up in the pocket, delivers a throw over the middle to Dallas Goedert. We need to see more of that. I'm so encouraged to see that he did that today, where he was just, again, patient, kept his eyes downfield, and made some great throws inside, even when the pressure was in his face. So, again, last week, he probably panics and bails in a lot of those moments, and that's a sign of growth. And that was my issue last week, was I kept asking you and myself, where is that growth in the key areas he needs to grow in? And I thought in those areas specifically, today was a big step.
And what you want to see out of a young quarterback is growth. Let's start right there. Today was the biggest, I would say, from worst performance to best performance that Jalen has had from game to game.
Right, because everything else just felt like it was just like here. And you had a little up, but then a little down. But you're like, is there that big jump, you know?
And I think you saw that today against the Chiefs. And people look at the Chiefs defense and say, yeah, it's not the best in the league. But that's what defenses are becoming in this league, Lou, when you're investing so much money on the offense, right? You're in Buffalo. You know they just paid Josh Allen all that money. Right. Where are they going to have to make cuts? It's probably going to be on the defense within the next couple of years here, right? On offense, you have this quarterback on a rookie deal. All your receivers are on rookie deals. You have the ability to continue to draft unbelievable offensive line talent. Jeff Stoutland should be getting into Canton.
Oh my gosh, we didn't even mention that. The offensive line today
we have to pause what we were talking about.
You lost Jordan Mailata, Isaac Seumalo, Brandon Brooks, Lane Johnson at the last second, and this offensive line didn't skip a beat. I mean, Jeff Stoutland is hats off. Landon Dickerson looked good at left guard today. I thought they made the right calls too, like who plays where, right? Dickerson moves to left guard. They have Herbig inside at right guard. Jack Driscoll plays at right tackle. I thought all three of them were really good today. And, I think the only issue was Andre Dillard taking those penalties and costing them touchdowns, but 4/5 of the line were really good.
The one word I look at is cohesion on offense, because they knew that was going to be an issue. First off, whatever Lane Johnson is going through, I hope he's okay. That's what I want to hear. I know he's been going through a lot with that ankle. That can take a lot on your mental toll. I totally understand that. Hope he's good first and foremost. But to go into that situation, Lou, knowing you're down 3 starters already, moving your right guard, who has been playing there the last couple of weeks, to left guard, Jason Kelce being the sole player from week 1. Jack
John
Driscoll,
Snow gift, man. It's Jason Kelce every year.
Jack Driscoll straight off the injured reserve to right tackle. Number 1, Howie Roseman, hats off for what he's done on this offensive line. 2, Jeff Stoutland, even bigger applause for what he's done on this offensive line. Number 3, Nick Sirianni, for what he did in the play calling to protect his offensive line. He got the ball out quick. They didn't depend on the run too much, where you're going to be in these situations where it's 1-on-1 or it's 2-on-1 and you're really undermanned. And they were. They were undermanned. You're down to one of your starters from week 1. They put on an unbelievable performance and kept them in this game. Those penalties on Andre Dillard kind of tied to Jalen Hurts and his ability and decision-making. That RPO game, as well as it does work, they really have to figure out the timing. They have to get that down.
Because Dillard doesn't know if it's a pass or run. And
yes, he has to commit to the run and really sell that. So it's not really on the offensive line, and we saw that with Wentz last year, right? And
that's a thing that people might not think of, that you have to really take a look at for sure.
Yeah, and I'm not going to hound on Andre Dillard. I thought he's done a fantastic job
Well, considering where he was at, rock bottom, I thought the last two performances, I mean, for a backup, that's all you can ask for.
You either, one, have a guy who now you can kind of mold to play a position that maybe he might not want to because he has the ability to do the little things well, like his anchor ability, Lou. I don't see him in the face of the quarterback all too often. Like, he's able to stand there.
Which was his big issue, getting bull rushed. Yeah.
Landon Dickerson, that pick is looking smarter and smarter day by day. The guy plays right guard, left guard. He might be the inevitable center of the future. Jack Driscoll, a guy who they stole late in that draft. Nate Herbig has been one of the unsung heroes of this team the last 2 years, Lou. Round of applause to what that offensive line and Jeff Stoutland did, man. I don't think I could do it. Like, how those guys went in there and said, we're undermanned, but we're still going to go in. That's the mentality you want every single player on your team to have.
The Eagles fall 42-30 to the Kansas City Chiefs. They drop to 1-3 on the season. This is the Locked On Eagles post-game show. Gino, we'll get into the negatives of this loss. A lot of it had to do with the defense. We definitely got into pretty much everything the offense with pros and cons. So we'll definitely move on to defense coming up next right here on Locked On Eagles. And guys, today's show is sponsored by Get Upside. I got to tell you about this incredible app everybody who buys gas needs to know about. Get Upside. My listeners are making up to 25 cents for every gallon of gas every time they fill up. Just download the free Get Upside app in the App Store or Google Play right now and use our promo code TOUCHDOWN and get a bonus 25 cents per gallon on your first fill up. That's up to 50 cents cash back. Don't pay full price at the pump anymore. Get cash back using Get Upside. Again, just download the app for free and use the promo code TOUCHDOWN to get up to 50 cents on the gallon and cash back on your first tank. Some people who drive a lot are making as much as $200 to $300 a month in cash back, and there's no catch. The cash back gets added right to your account. You can cash out anytime to your bank account, PayPal, or e-gift card for Amazon and other brands. Again, just download the free Get Upside app and use the promo code TOUCHDOWN. This is the Locked On Eagles post-game show. Louis DiBiase, Gino Camilleri. The Eagles fall to 1-3 on the season, a 42-30 loss to the Kansas City Chiefs. But, Gino, like I said, and like you've said all year long, there's going to be moral victories and losses this year in a rebuilding season. I thought most of those moral victories today were on the offensive side of the football. But it was a loss. The Eagles did allow 42 points today to Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. Mahomes with 4 touchdowns on the day. Gino, I mean, just, again, I think we talked about penalties, 9 of them today, and on defense especially. Derek Barnett, just another terrible roughing the passer penalty. So many moments where it's 3rd and 6, and then Josh Sweat a couple offsides penalties today, makes it 3rd and 1. Just inexcusable. It's happening every week. It's the same issues. I feel like I'm ranting about Jim Schwartz. With Jonathan Gannon's defense, it is once again the same issues. Penalties, their linebackers suck, and they give up way too many easy plays.
I think you broke that down pretty well, and how you broke it down goes into personnel, it goes into execution, and it goes into game plan. And I think they failed on all 3 of those fronts today. Because when you look at the defensive front and the defensive secondary, I think Darius Slay is having a season that is unsung. Like, you're not seeing the ball thrown his way nearly at all. Steven Nelson is having a rough go of it at that number 2 position. But Darius Slay and your guys up front, you knew were going to be your reliable pieces, right? Okay, that's half of your defense that's playing top-notch ball. Javon Hargrave, I say, is already playing at an all-pro rate.
Another sack today. He's got 5 on the year.
Who would have ever thought that this guy would probably be the first guy to get to double digits in a while?
Right.
I wouldn't have said that. We thought it was going to be Josh Sweat who could get there. You talk about these penalties from Josh Sweat. It goes into how quick his get-off is, the timing. I don't really blame him there. They just have to get better in their execution and not taking dumb penalties. The ones on Derek Barnett, though, those are penalties that can be completely avoidable.
Pay for them, Gino. Like, he's never going to the sidelines after. And I get it.
Even after Nick Sirianni says it's always him.
Right.
He literally said it on the telecast.
And I get, because of necessity with Brandon Graham out, that in Ryan Kerrigan looks nothing like what he used to.
No.
That you kind of need Derek Barnett right now. But even for a player too, like, this guy does not get it. And he hasn't got it, Gino, since 2017. He's, I talk about how Jalen Hurts is the same player in certain areas. Derek Barnett is the most undisciplined player the Eagles have had in a long time. He's borderline dirty. He's pretty much a dirty player, and he just never learns. Like, this is kind of just who he is, and he's not good enough to deal with those mistakes. If he's Josh Sweat, I can live with those 2 penalties because I know he's going to make up for it. Derek Barnett never makes up
and it's
for
not
it.
a personal foul. Like, that's completely
right.
different.
That's the thing. Like Derek Barnett, these are all avoidable mistakes. And a guy that's been in the league now for 5 seasons should not be making, especially in a contract year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like let's evaluate the penalties real quick across the whole board, right? Special teams penalties are always avoidable. We know that right off the bat. They're always avoidable. Blocks in the backs, holds, should never happen. Number 2, personal fouls. Like those are because you put I over the team. Like that's really what it comes. Even if you're shoved into the legs of the quarterback, you could just put your weight down and like not even go at his legs. That's possible. And then you look at the penalties from Josh Sweat and Andre Dillard, which were more on how they're anticipating the play. It comes down to a breakdown in the play. Like that's understandable. But the first 2 cannot fly. And personal fouls, it's called a personal foul for a reason. It's on that person. It's the equivalent of a technical foul in basketball, right? Like that's essentially what it is. And Derek Barnett has done this multiple times in his career, Lou. And I don't even think you can like keep putting him out there because he cost you. And in a game when you're playing Kansas City and they put up 42, that could have been 35 and you could have had a chance to win it late. That's those margins in football. Giving up 15 yards on something as poor as that, unbelievable. The JJ penalty on the whatever you want to call pass interference, I don't know. I don't know how you're going to call that.
I think he could have sold it better, but it's a close ticky-tack call. I mean, Gino, I think a lot of the penalties were close in that way, but at the same time, I mean, it's not like just today this has been an issue. Like this has been an issue now for a month. Yeah. It's been an issue for the first 4 weeks of the season. So it's a trend now. It's a pattern of mistakes, and that's when it becomes a problem. And so it was again today. It didn't just cost you 3 touchdowns, but I mean, again, how many times it was 3rd and long and then boom, it's 3rd and 1, and they're going to convert. You can't give, again, you can get away with that against the Falcons. You might even be able to get away with that against Jimmy Garoppolo and the 49ers, but against Dak Prescott, against Patrick Mahomes, against Andy Reid, you're not getting away with that. And you haven't. And that's why you've been losing these games that you're playing close to good teams, but you can't finish because you're shooting yourself in the foot. And it's especially on the defensive side of the football. Outside of penalties, Gino, I think the other issue is on this defense. I mean, for what Jonathan Gannon wants to do and just play back and have all this space open, you need athletic, rangy. We said this last week. You need athletic, rangy safeties and linebackers, and they are not even close to having that right now. I mean, God, Eric Wilson, I loved you called him Eric Geary on Twitter today, which was cracking me up. But that's the case. He has been, I know he had the interception today, but that was more about Josh Sweat hitting Mahomes. I mean, he's been awful. I mean, eventually you got to find out what you have in Davian Taylor. He's not playing enough because if he's not something,
he's the best guy out there when he's out there, man.
And you need to know what you have in your 3rd round pick. Because if not, you need to know if you need to make a 1st or 2nd round selection on a linebacker. I already think you have to, no matter what Taylor is, or not just linebacker. Gino, I just mean a safety or linebacker, that rangy 2nd, 3rd level player. You need one desperately right now.
Right now, with Carson Wentz playing over 75% of the snaps, Miami, with the pick that they gave you and your pick, you need to invest 2, if not 3, high caliber players on defense for this Philadelphia
I'm just nervous because they just don't, Gino. Like they never do it.
They need to do what Carolina did in the first year of Matt Rule, where they spent an entire draft dedicated to that defense because
Look
you
how
said
much
it.
Young talent that defense has is J.C. Horn. I mean, they just traded for C.J. Henderson, Jeremy Chin, Derek Brown, Brian Burns. The Eagles have none of that.
And that's what I'm saying, man. Like, as good as Rodney McLeod was the head back, he's not going to play forever, bro. Like, he's not going to be there till the end of time. Darius Slay isn't going to be there till the end of time. Going back to the point on personnel, your linebackers aren't it, man. Like, and you're not playing the right ones. Like, I was waiting. Where's Sean Bradley to get some speed on the field, to get some athleticism? Davion Taylor doesn't come in until like the midway through the 3rd quarter.
Right.
These decisions come down to the guy who's putting these guys in the position to succeed. And it's Jonathan Gannon, and he's not doing a good job at that. And there's so many plays, Lou, when it's a zone coverage. I'm fine with zone. I wanted to run quarters for the longest time. You hear me talking about it the last 2 years on this podcast, but not where you're just defending grass.
Zone doesn't mean you can just sit there and watch. I mean,
you have to find work, man. Like,
I loved when you said that. Yeah, find
defense.
Work. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just too much work. And you can't do that against Tyreek Hill and Mecole Hardman. That's 4-3 speed. If you don't get a head start, it was pathetic seeing. I laughed because Jannard Avery's chasing him down in the open field. you need the personnel and the coach, what they want to do right now, just do not fit at all. And a lot of it's on Gannon too, but a lot of it too is on Howie Roseman. He's made some awesome moves when it comes to the defensive line, but it feels like outside of Darius Slay, since 2016 when he signed Roddy McLeod, every move he's made on the second and third level just do not work. And the three moves he made this year at safety, linebacker, and corner, Nelson, Harris, and Wilson, just have not done enough. I mean, it's been very disappointing.
It has been, and I think this should be the last of the quote-unquote Band-Aid era, where we sign these guys who are journeymen, guys coming off a franchise tag, and you think they can fit into your team. There's a reason they didn't get that extension. There's a reason they're a free agent. Look beyond what the player is.
And I get the buy low logic, like I do. Yeah. But the issue, Gino, like eventually with Howie Roseman, it's a lot of me understanding his logic and the logic making sense, but the execution, the results eventually have to follow, or it doesn't matter what your thought process was if you were in the right. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. And eventually it's a results-driven league, and you have to hit on these players. And even the ones that you did hit, you cut, like LJ Fort.
Yeah, I totally agree, Lou. And going into this offseason, which is still weeks away, I mean, they still have 13 games to play, and they're going to be in games. I don't think this is a bad team. I think they have a chance to compete for the second-best team in this division right now. The Eagles just have to do the little things right, which I think they got better from last week. They had 11 penalties last week. Don't have 11 penalties this week, but they still had some.
Still at 9, though, so I don't know how
still
much
at 9.
improvement that is.
Hey, as somebody who's an accountant, I'm looking at percentages. I'm looking at margins, you know, like that. That's what you have to do with a young team, though, Lou. You're not going to make leaps and bounds overnight. I think on offense, they made a big jump today. Defense, it's going to take some time. Special teams are still figuring out. Did love that Jalen Reagor kick return. Thought that was the best play we've seen.
I thought of you instantly. I'm like, oh my gosh, Gino finally got to watch a positive special teams play. And J-Jaw got a strip sack.
He did get that
sack, but a strip tackle.
He got the strip tackle on special teams. And those are like the hidden yards that you have to avoid when you're playing good teams. And that's what keeps the Eagles in that bottom third right now for a team like Kansas City, Dallas, the Niners. When you play Tampa in a couple weeks, they get those bounces. They get things going their way. The Eagles aren't going to get that. And they have to be sound because they have to realize they're going to be undermanned. They're going to be outgunned. So they have to do the little things correctly. And if you could get that corrected, Lou, which should be correctable things, especially under a young coaching staff, and that's what I want to sit back on. It's 4 games into Sirianni's career. He could get this ship turned around. I don't think he's a problem at all.
No, I thought it was a huge overreaction this week when it came to his play calling, and I think the bigger issues were being ignored. And I get it; the head coach is always going to be under a lens in Philadelphia, but
for sure,
I thought it was kind of unfair considering the situation Sirianni was thrown into last week. I think in the personnel that he's doing a good job. My issue is with Jonathan Gannon right now, Gino, more than Nick Sirianni.
And Mike Clay.
I thought I was excited about Gannon because when he came in, I'm like, all right, this team's going to be, I knew he was coming in with his own background. I didn't love it, but I'm like, okay, but I think he's going to be way better situationally than Jim Schwartz. But again, like, I mean, any third down crucial play this week, this team is just soft as butter. Like they couldn't get a key stop. I think they had 5 touchdowns on 6 possessions. The Chiefs did, or 4 or 5. And it just felt like they could never get a stop. I don't think they punted one time today. And it just like, even in the situations where it's third and short or in the red zone, they're not getting hands on guys at the line of scrimmage. Tyreek Hill's inside and they're not adjusting. The closest guy is Eric Wilson. He's not going to get there in time. A 3-step out, Tyreek Hill's gone. And it's just like that continues to happen. And I was hoping that without Jim Schwartz, we had moved on to a better, more self-aware defensive coordinator. And so far through 4 games, Jonathan Gannon is the person I'm annoyed with more than maybe anybody in this franchise.
Talking about the punts real quick, Jeff Kerr, our friend from CBS Sports, there have only been 4 games in NFL history where neither team has punted. Today was one of them.
Yeah. So again, a positive. We did want Jalen Hurts to match a star quarterback and go toe-to-toe. And so although this wasn't a great defense, Gino, it doesn't matter who you're playing on defense. When you see the other quarterback doing that, there's pressure added and you start pressing, and sometimes that forces mistakes. So I was still impressed that Jalen Hurts did what he did today and kind of answered each time. That's what I want to see for Hurts. That's why I think in the offseason when the schedule came out, we looked at this stretch and we're like, okay, you might not win a lot of these games, but let's see how they lose them. Let's see how Hurts does winning, but winning in a certain kind of way. And so, yeah, I mean, as you guys can tell, it's a very mixed bag of emotions today. I think we both feel pretty good about a lot of things, but there's a lot of other things that we have issues with. And I mean, it's a continued evaluation process through the year. This is a rebuild. And by the end of the year, we'll kind of know where we're at and where we're headed for sure. And the Eagles right now, 1-3, they fall 42-30 against the Kansas City Chiefs, now 1-3 on the season. Guys, this post-game show for Locked On Eagles is brought to you by DirecTV Stream. Does this sound familiar? It might have been today. You've got one device that lets you catch the game live, another that lets you stream your favorite shows, you're watching sports highlights on your phone, and you've got your neighbor's best friend's login for the good stuff. Well, I want to tell you about a simpler way to get all that entertainment you love without the hassle and a great way to finally get your TV together. It's called DirecTV Stream, and it brings your live TV and on-demand favorites together like never before, so you can watch your favorite sports, movies, and shows all in one place. That means no more juggling remotes and no need to buy another device ever again. And the best part, there's no annual contract. So get rid of the clutter and the confusion and get your DirecTV stream together. You can learn more at directtv.com. That's directtv.com. Compatible devices required. Content varies by package.
Let me tell you what, DirecTV Stream makes your TV streaming very easy. And Built Bar makes your food choices even easier. And let me tell you what, those cookie dough chunk, Lou, those Built Bars are the best bar I've ever had in my life.
I don't have any more. I ate them all.
I'm going to write a letter, and hopefully I can get some more. If not, I'm going to use the promo code, and that is LOCKED15 to get 15% off one of the 9 delicious flavors that they have. They have limited edition flavors. They're low in calories, low in carbs, low in sugar, high in protein. I just got a gym membership out here in Colorado for the first time, Lou. And you know what I'm going to have every time after the gym? It's going to be a Built Bar. Guaranteed, it's the best tasting protein bar that you will ever have. So go to their website today, BuiltBar.com. Use the promo code LOCKED15. That's LOCKED15, and you'll get 15% off your first order. And use that promo code. Tell them that we sent you. It's always great that our fans love these Built Bars, and there's a reason they've been one of our longest running sponsors. People love them, Lou. I don't think there's any other way to put it. They're going to the moon.
All the flavor, none of the guilt, man.
Yeah, seriously. If you love candy, somebody like me, I love my sweets. Yeah. I'll have 3 or 4 Built Bars instead. So go to BuiltBar.com and use that promo code.
The Eagles fall 42-30 to the Kansas City Chiefs. This is the Locked On Eagles postgame show. The Eagles are now 1-3 on the season. Gino, they have a matchup with the Carolina Panthers in Charlotte next week. The Panthers fall to 3-1 today. They lose to the Dallas Cowboys. Again, a mixed bag today. I thought the offense looked great against the Chiefs. I thought Jalen Hurts matched Patrick Mahomes pretty much toe for toe throughout the game. The defense has a lot of work to be done personnel-wise, coaching, the penalties, brutal. Overall, I think, though, a step in the right direction compared to last week felt like rock bottom. We're like, okay, how far away is this team? But, and again, me and you kind of asked, we're like, okay, the Falcons game and the Dallas game. What team is this actually? Like, where are they closer to? And I think they're right in the middle, as most things in life are. I think they're more the team we saw against the San Francisco 49ers. And if they clean things up, they can be the team against Atlanta. But if they don't, you can see more games like Dallas. So again, it's a continued evaluation process, and it's finding out who this team is. And we'll find out more and more as each game goes. But I would say 3 of the 4 games this year, I've been pretty encouraged. So that's a good sign. The fourth game was brutal and a huge wake-up call. And some of the games had wake-up calls in them too. But I would say 3 of the 4 games showed you that this team isn't years and years away.
Right. And we always go back to the narrative that this team would be one of the worst in the league prior to the season starting.
Right. That does not look like this team.
We never got behind that idea. And I think today it was evident because even with those penalties, they're in this game with Kansas City till the fourth quarter. I mean, good teams win those games down the stretch. Kansas City did that today. They have a better team. Won a Super Bowl 2 years ago, almost won the Super Bowl last year. There's a reason they are where they are. The Eagles will get there. You can't run before you can walk, and you can't walk before you can crawl. The Eagles are still getting their legs under them, you know? They're like a newborn baby giraffe. They're wobbling. Some things will be good. They'll get a nice stretch where they can go on a nice run. But then there's other times when they really can't get their legs under them. And I think today there was a mixed bag of both. Like there were times when they looked very impressive. And then at times in the red zone,
maddening,
on special teams, on defense, it could be maddening at times. But as somber and downtrodden as we were last week, Lou, I think that step in the right direction happened today. And I was never as critical on Nick Sirianni as people have been in the first 3 weeks. And I think today was evident. He's been under staffs, Kansas City, where he knows what it takes to win on offense. And his ability to change from last week to this week, the first time they faced adversity, Lou, positive in my column. I think Nick Sirianni, the offense did a great job. It's an offensive-based league, Lou. We wanted to see the offense improve. 2 30-point games out of 4, not too shabby.
Yeah, I totally agree. Let's take a look at the box score before we wrap up this post-game show. Jalen Hurts finishes 32 of 48, 385 yards, 2 touchdowns through the air, 8 carries, 47 yards. Hurts leads the way on the ground. Kenneth Gainwell, 3 carries for 31 yards and a touchdown. Miles Sanders, a bad game, 7 carries, only 13 yards, 1.9 yards per carry. Through the air, Devontae Smith leads the way, 7 catches for 122. Again, he's the first Eagles rookie receiver to have over 100 yards in a game since Jordan Matthews 7 years ago in 2014. Zach Ertz, Kenneth Gainwell, they have 6 apiece, 60 yards for Zach Ertz, 58 for Kenneth Gainwell. Zach Ertz is only like, I think at this point, I want to say 15 or 16 catches away from breaking the Eagles all-time receptions record. So we'll keep tracking that too and see if he can break that before maybe he's traded. We'll see. Dallas Goedert, 5 catches for 54 yards and a touchdown. Miles Sanders, 3 for 34. Quez Watkins, 3 for 33. And then right as we were preparing the show, Greg Ward caught a garbage time touchdown, 1 catch for 15 yards, which Gino did put us at 5-1 this week for our LOE 3. We're now, I think, 11-1 the last 2 weeks.
After a perfect 6-0 last week.
Yeah, we're killing it.
With a 5-1 week this week.
Guys, start listening to these, man. We'll watch these podcasts, look at these graphs. We can make you some money.
Yeah, bet online. You could be making a ton of money
Absolutely.
Right now if you're betting with us. And before we end, Lou, we have to give a huge shout out. Jake Elliott, now 2nd all-time in terms of field goals made in Eagles history. He has a chance to pass Akers. Perfect on the season, Lou. Extra points, field goals. I think he's one of the guys that is the unsung heroes of this team so far.
The Eagles dropped to 1-3, 42-30 is the final score against the Kansas City Chiefs. Guys, thanks for tuning in. This has been the Locked On Eagles post-game show. We'll be back tomorrow for Stock Up, Stock Down. Follow us on Twitter at Locked On Birds, at GC24_football, at DBLCLOE. Subscribe to our show wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube as well. For Gino Camilleri, I'm Lou DiBiase signing off. As always, thank you for downloading, thank you for listening, and let's go Birds.
Fly, Eagles, fly.